Here we are guys, the fifth and final video in this Wii U opinion series. We've looked at where Nintendo went wrong, we've looked at the best games, we've looked at the worst games. Is it still worth getting a Wii U? And today we're going to end this with your advice to Nintendo regarding the Switch. All of these videos wouldn't have been possible without your input, so be sure, just like the other videos, to look out for your opinions too. And just like any of the other videos, if you want to check out any of the YouTubers featured in this video, then check the links in the description. So, no messing about, here it is, the fifth video. Your advice for Nintendo regarding the Switch.
What would be your advice for Nintendo for the Switch? Deliver what you promised us with the Wii U and put some GameCube titles on the Virtual Console. Also, give me my damn Cloud Amiibo.
Tie up as many third-party exclusives as you can. The Switch is a unique system that developers supposedly love, and the dev kits are cheap, so take that advantage and make your console irreplaceable, even if someone already owns a PlayStation or Xbox.
Nintendo moving forward needs to show that the Switch is both powerful enough and has the third-party support. The Switch needs to show it can hold up against the other powerhouses while delivering an experience you can't get anywhere else. And I love you, Nintendo, but for God's sake, give me a new Metroid game.
Nintendo, just be upfront with things. Let the gamers know what they are getting into and what we can expect in the future. Build our confidence in your future and keep making awesome first-party games.
My advice for Nintendo with the Switch is don't get caught up on all the gimmicky accessories. Focus on the third-party support as well as indie support. I feel that Nintendo, the last couple systems, last generations, have really kind of fallen off with the support for third-party and indie games, unlike Sony and Microsoft. And if they focus on these two things and bring quality games, not just first-party quality games to the system, I believe the Switch will do very well. If they don't, I feel that the Switch might end out to be very similar to the Wii as far as game support.
So with the Switch, we're kind of biding our time. Again, we've put a tweet out that we're not going to buy this one on launch. Going to have a sit back and see what goes on the Switch. It does look an interesting console. It just needs to be more games and more partnerships. There needs to be variety. Obviously, some quality and quantity. You don't want loads of games, but there just needs to be more variety to choose from. The Wii U took some time to get the games out. It's a shame because almost at the end of its life, it started to get better. But they'd made a decision by then, so they need to ramp up and get away from just doing the games themselves and try and get more partnerships. Sony and Microsoft clearly have that. It's not Nintendo's way, but they need to step into that a bit more. They seem to be doing it on some of the announcements, so long may it continue. And I hope the Switch does really well, and we'll be getting one as soon as we feel is the right time.
Nintendo. Phantasy Star Online 2 needs to be on the Switch. Convince Sega to finally release this game outside of Japan and on the Switch.
I'm yet to be convinced by the Switch, so yeah, Nintendo, surprise me!
My advice for Nintendo on the Switch is that I'd love to see some 3DS backward compatibility with the Switch, where you could put your 3DS carts into the Switch and play them. Also, I'd like to see a long list of old Nintendo games available at affordable prices. Emphasis on the affordable part, considering that many of these games are very old now and easily to emulate. If the Xbox One can do it with Rare Replay, then the Switch should be able to do it too.
Advice for Nintendo and the Nintendo Switch. Well, I think first of all, Nintendo, you need to listen to your audience. If there's a large group of people that are protesting the price or the high cost of accessories or not having a pack-in, I think Nintendo, you need to look at that. I still think that Nintendo's making a large mistake with how they're promoting the Switch and the prices and everything. But so I think Nintendo just needs to be maybe open to changing things up. I think that Nintendo is an extremely conservative company, and I think that sometimes doing your own thing is a mistake. Sometimes you have to succumb to competition and say, you know what, maybe you're right on this. Maybe we do need to change direction.
Advice for Switch. Oh, dude, Nintendo, make it all about the games. Don't worry about the streaming services. I know I just highlighted how much I love the Wii U for the streaming services, but don't make it about that. Make it about just the games and the games alone. Bring a whole lot of them, and introduce more IPs, please. We keep getting sequels and spin-offs, and, I love the Mario games, that's fine. The Star Foxes and or Star Fox Eye, the Mario Karts, the Mario Party. No, bring, how about a new game, new series? I'd love to see what new things Nintendo can do. So bring on some new IPs, and I'm looking forward to the Switch. I'm going to be a huge fan of it already, and bring it on.
Nintendo needs to step up its game with the Switch. Players want a smooth online experience, actual third-party support that sticks around, a myriad of interesting games, an eShop that's continually improved and expanded, new ways to interact with others and create friendships, and most of all, put the consumer first. Stop this bullshit with screwing over content creators. Make your online service worth paying for, and don't focus too much on gimmicks when the gameplay falters because of it. Your fans have kept you afloat this long. It's time to show us some respect.
What would be your advice for Nintendo for the Switch? I got none, because Nintendo were just going to be Nintendo and try and sell this just the way they did with the Wii and the Wii U. Look at our new gimmicks, they're doing it already. Even worse, that tech demo gimmick game you play for 5 minutes before you chuck in the bin isn't even packed in for nothing. They're selling it at full price. And there's still no real killer app for the launch. They should have made sure Super Mario Odyssey was ready, but it won't be until the end of the year. If they're banking on Zelda Breath of the Wild to be a system seller, good luck with that, as I'm guessing a lot of Zelda fans already have a Wii U, and it's coming out on that too, for cheaper, and you won't have to buy a console for it.
Looking forward to the Switch, I guess my biggest hope is that they drop some of the more gimmicky gameplay that they've really earned a bit of a reputation for. Just make games to control normally.
With the Nintendo Switch, I'm a little concerned with the Virtual Console. Having to buy the same game again on the Wii, the 3DS, Wii U and Switch seems a little bit ridiculous, as does how they slowly trickle out releases. They should just put the entire retro libraries online at launch.
My advice for the Nintendo Switch? Games, games, and games. They need to flood that system with great first and third party titles. Plus, make sure people know the difference between the Wii and the Switch. I might hang myself if people called the Switch a new Wii or something.
As for the Switch, well, right now they've certainly got the marketing down. My advice to Nintendo is just don't become complacent and stop advertising in 2 months' time. I mean, I know it's expensive, but that's the gubbins that shifts units, Daddy-O.
My advice for Nintendo and the Switch would be games. Time and time again, it's always evident that the software available drives a machine's sales. I think Nintendo have caught on this time, and there are some amazing throwback titles lined up, such as the new Zelda, Sonic Mania, and Ultra Street Fighter 2. I'm pretty excited for what it holds, but not being able to use the dual screen just still really disappoints me. It could have been so much more.
Nintendo, please allow us to stream your games.
My advice for Nintendo for the Switch is please promote more local multiplayer. I know you've already got loads of local multiplayer things coming out with the Switch and loads of things have already been announced, but oh god, local multiplayer, it's so missed. It's so missed, and I'm so happy that they are taking more of the direction, but I think I would love to see more things coming out for local multiplayer, if you know what I mean. It's hard to say because the Switch, I haven't really got many doubts about it, if you know what I mean. I'm not getting it when it's first released because I'm going to wait for the price to go down a bit because I don't have that kind of budget. But I think if they just keep on going in the direction that they are doing for the local multiplayer, loads of people are going to love it, loads of people are going to want to join in because everyone loves bringing their friends around for a game and whatnot and having a good old party game, a good old adventure game, fighting game. There's nothing better than being with your friends playing games and local multiplayer. At least I'm a huge fan of local multiplayer anyway and sharing my experiences with others, so my advice for Nintendo is please keep this local multiplayer approach up. I think it's really, obviously have your single player stuff, but I think it's a really good direction and it's something we all miss. So Nintendo, keep it up, you're doing awesome so far.
So what would be my advice for Nintendo for the Switch console? Well, I'd say keep working with other developers, make partnerships, help smaller studios out, and do whatever it takes to get the very best games onto the Switch. Launch title Snipperclips is an excellent example of Nintendo working with a British-based indie developer to create a unique and fun release for the system. And if they keep up those sort of efforts, then I do think the Switch will be a big hit, especially with the ability to take games outside and into the living room.
I think everybody out there is going to be offering their own little bit of advice for Nintendo on what they can do to make the Nintendo Switch a successful system. But you know what? At the end of the day, I think the best advice you can possibly give Nintendo is for them to start listening to their fans. Because at this point in time, they have failed to acknowledge what their fans have demanded and wanted for years and years. We need the Nintendo Switch to be a bunch of different things all at once, and it's probably going to live up to at least a bunch of people's ideas of what the console should be. But for a lot of gamers out there and a lot of game developers, they're probably looking at the Nintendo Switch in a state of confusion because they simply don't know what to make of it. A hybrid system like this has never really been attempted before by any of the major game producers out there. Whenever somebody's confused or whenever somebody really doesn't know what to make of the system, Nintendo needs to listen. They need to see exactly what people are lost with and address those concerns immediately. And at this point in time, there's still a whole bunch of questions about this system, even though we're very close to seeing it release. And that can really be a problem when you simply don't know what the system is really trying to be. Is it going to be a home console or is it going to be a portable? Because it really can't be the master of both.
And when it comes to the Nintendo Switch, my advice to Nintendo would be keep doing what you're doing. You're really correcting a lot of the issues that you had with the Wii U, from branding to marketing to everything. You're seeing Nintendo commercials on television, all over YouTube. There's a lot of positive buzz about the system. You have a small but solid launch lineup, and the rest of the year just looks phenomenal with games like Splatoon 2, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which fixes that battle mode issue in Mario Kart 8, and of course Super Mario Odyssey. So keep the consumers happy, and I think it'll actually be a pretty smooth ride for Nintendo this generation. They're really bringing something different to the table. They're bringing something unique in terms of how to play your home consoles anywhere you are. So I'm really looking forward to the Switch, and just keep going with that positive momentum.
What would be your advice for Nintendo for the Switch? I would say, can we please at least have a new Animal Crossing title?
My advice for Nintendo with the Switch is just focus on the games your core audience has been begging from you for years, and find and deliver a steady stream of retro games to the Virtual Console rather than the drip of releases that slowly found their way to the Wii U.
My best advice to Nintendo is to start opening up more studios and representing all of your core franchises in every console generation. Franchises like Metroid, StarFox, Pikmin, these are titles that should not be missing from your console software lineup. And also design your infrastructure and hardware around the needs of the third-party developers. Because the Wii and the Wii U has proven that if you don't tailor to them, you're going into battle by yourself.
My advice for the Nintendo Switch. If the Nintendo Switch has the same amount of good exclusive games, then I think it's going to be okay. What Nintendo really need to do is push on those third-party developers, continuously make sure the Switch is at the forefront of all gamers everywhere, regardless of what their favourite console is, and this is most important, make sure Pikmin 4 is announced at this year's E3. Please, Nintendo.
My advice for Nintendo on the Switch, just make everything user-friendly, make sure that purchases are tied to an account so you can bring them with you, and so we don't have to buy Virtual Console games for the 5th time, and make the Virtual Console good like it was on the Wii when it first started. Give everybody these smaller, cheaper retro games to play to fill in the gaps in between big launches.
So this is an odd one, but bear with me. Everyone's making the jump to VR right now, even cell phones. Imagine something along the lines of Gear VR made just for the Switch. You could play in VR completely untethered with wireless controllers. That would be a pretty inexpensive accessory to develop, and you could be the game company that finally brings affordable VR to the masses. Again, and this time in color.
My advice for Nintendo with the Switch. So far so good with the marketing, announcement of third parties, and all the goodness that's around the Switch. I think they've done pretty well putting out adverts at the Super Bowl. Mental. Never would have expected that from Nintendo, but they are missing quite a few tricks, and they have limited themselves in a lot of ways. So the first thing that they really haven't done is listen to the public. There's a lot of things that the Switch needed that they haven't done, and there are things that people have been calling out for ages, and all it would have taken is a little bit of searching on Google and you would have found all these ideas of what people want on the Switch. The most obvious one for me is chucking a game in with the console. I just can't get my head around that. There's so many people that will hold back on buying it because it's a high price anyway. But if you chucked a game in with it, I think it would have so much more appeal. Simple one would have been 1-2 Switch. Why would you not bundle 1-2 Switch in with the console? Makes so much sense, and it's a shame they didn't do that because it will put a lot of people off and they won't buy it. And there's going to be a lot of people don't buy 1-2 Switch. And 1-2 Switch may turn out to be an amazing game for parties and everything else, but it's probably not going to get a chance in the market, and people just would be like, I don't want to buy that. Whereas with Wii Sports, no one had a choice. It was a bundled game. And the thing about that was it was an awesome bundled game. So that helped. But at the same time, it was bundled. And that made a big difference to the Wii. If the Wii didn't come with that bundled game, people may not have bought that. You know, it may not have been so popular. Also, I mean, this subscription for online gaming, they really need to just simply let people keep the games as long as they're paying for the subscription. I don't understand the idea of giving people a game for a month and then taking it back or restricting access to it. It makes no sense. They're NES and SNES games. You can pick them up anywhere. You can download the ROM for them, emulate it on your PC. You can emulate it on a Raspberry Pi. You can play these games everywhere. You can play these games in your browser, for goodness sake. It's stupid that they think that these things are so exclusive to them that they want to restrict people's access to it. It's crazy. The other things that I think they've really missed the boat on, the price of the accessories is mental. Why would you pay 80 quid at this point for an extra set of Joy-Con? I mean, I think eventually everyone's going to have to do it with some of the games that are going to come out, but at the beginning no one's going to buy an extra set of Joy-Con. It will just be, oh, we get one with it, so I'm not going to spend another 80 quid. The dock for the console, it'd be great if that was cheap, like 15, 20 quid. You'd probably put one in every room, on every TV. You might even take one round to other people's houses and leave it there. It's something that they've really missed out on. Making it 90 quid is mental. They've absolutely lost the plot when it comes to the accessory price. Finally, the one thing that I think Nintendo may have completely messed up on, but I will be very intrigued to see what happens when it comes out, is the voice chat through an app. I mean, whose idea was this? Why would you think that doing voice chat not on the actual console would make any sense? I mean, generally you're not going to do voice chat anywhere other than at home, really and truly, or somewhere where you're settled and you have an internet connection, right? So put the voice chat on the console. Why would you put it through an app? I can understand if you think that people are going to be doing voice chat out and about, but they're not. No one, who's going to do that? Who's going to take the app and use it separately while they're out and about? Or who's going to take the app and the Switch out with them and do voice chat on the tube or on the train or on the bus? It's not going to happen. People aren't going to want to do that. So they've really dropped the ball on that, and it seems like such a simple thing. Just build it into the console and then people will use it. People will use it. So that's a whole host of advice. I mean, Nintendo kind of generally do what they want, so this advice is just going to fall on deaf ears, but you never know, Nintendo may be listening. So those are my advice points.
So this for me is an awesome question. My advice to Nintendo would be bring back some of the 16-bit IPs and remake them for the Switch. Now recently I did a video about dreaming big, whereby I talked about some titles that I would love to see on the Switch, and I included things like perhaps a new Ridge Racer game, or perhaps a brand new third-person zombies, or Zombies Ate My Neighbours if you're in the North American regions. You know, things that were really, really classic. I'd like to see another Pilot Wings game as well, but perhaps more of a Pilot Wings along the lines of the 16-bit Pilot Wings, because I think the Pilot Wings on the 3DS was a little bit too lavish and did lose track. So I'd like to see some originality, so taking what worked from the 16-bit era and bringing that across to the Switch, so keeping our feet on the ground, not too much kind of crazy lavish gameplay, less gimmicks, more about the quality. Definitely would love to see that on the Switch.
The Switch is a Nintendo console,
People buy Nintendo products to play Nintendo IPs, so all they need to do really is milk the crap out of their main franchises, like Pokemon, Zelda, Metroid, F-Zero, etc. We never saw proper games from any of those franchises on the Wii U. What the bloody hell was that about, Nintendo? What were you bloody doing?
My advice for Nintendo, for the Nintendo Switch, is make an Animal Crossing game for the Nintendo Switch. That was one of my biggest disappointments, besides Twilight Princess, that the Wii U didn't have its own Animal Crossing game. Because I kept expecting that every E3, except we never got it. I would get excited each year, like, oh, I'm gonna play Animal Crossing on the Wii U, and it's gonna connect to the 3DS, and I'm gonna go to the 3DS and write obscene things on my message boards, and have the 3DS villagers move over to my Wii U game, and then I'm going to send them angry messages. It's going to be great. And then it never happened, and that legitimately made me sad, especially because it had the touch screen, which would have made item management a lot better. The point is, Nintendo should make an Animal Crossing game for the Nintendo Switch, is what I'm saying.
Oh, this one's easy. Get Star Wars games. I know, I sound like a broken record. I'm always banging on about Star Wars games. But nearly every time Nintendo has hosted Star Wars games, the results have been spectacular. Exclusive Star Wars titles have historically become absolute must-buys for Nintendo consoles. If a Rogue Squadron game was announced tomorrow with all the bells and whistles, I would snap up a Switch in a heartbeat.
They should release very early on games like a new F-Zero. They should have a new STARFOX in development. It took so long for STARFOX to come out for the Wii U, and it was a slight disappointment. I wouldn't say it was a massive disappointment. I really enjoyed it, but definitely a new STARFOX. They need a proper Metroid. They need to try and bring back in all the games that they were famous for, even the third-party games such as Square. They want Square on board, maybe a lovely RPG. Maybe they could do a sort of like an augmented reality RPG, and certainly definitely a Pokemon that adapts to travel like Pokemon Go does. They definitely need to do that, and I don't think pushing this mobility thing, party gaming thing might be the way forward. I know that's what they're really trying to push, but I think they should definitely try and get more adult orientated games on this. It seems like the third parties are more on board with the Switch, and I think it has a lot of potential. They just need to keep pushing it, keep marketing it. What can it do different to the PS4 and the Xbox One and any future console that's coming out? And possibly do a VR add-on for it.
And there you have it, guys, the fifth and final video in this Wii U opinion series. If you missed out any of the videos, then check the links in the description to go back and check them out. And if you want to check out any of the channels featured in this video, then check those links out in the description too. Thank you to everyone that helped make this video series a reality. And I think that's enough of this sort of thing from me for a while. I'm very excited to be bringing back the Complete History series. So until then, this is DJ Slope signing out, and hopefully I'll see you all next time.